one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a moment of silent prayer for our country and our town and all the town council members here this evening. Amen. Okay, it's Tuesday evening, March 2nd. We're into the third month already. We are at the Municipal Center. We have live streaming, or no, Zoom. We don't have live streaming tonight, technical difficulties. So anyway, can I have the roll call?
Roll call. Scott Murphy.
Here.
Rick Weber.
Yeah.
John Hoare.
No.
No. Oh. Okay. Rose Jackson.
Here.
That's
Here.
Chris Chapman.
Here.
And I'm here.
Okay, got one. And can we review the minutes of the council meeting from February the 16th, 2021? I'll take any additions or corrections, and I would entertain a common consent from council. Everything looked good. I don't peruse them as well as the proofreaders. So. You good, guys?
Yes.
All right, persons before council. Do we want to amend the agenda to bring anybody that's in the audience if they want to leave then or whatever forward? Or do we just want to go through? Okay.
I'll wait till the end
Okay.
because I want to.
All right. Donna,
Sure. Well, mine's gonna come up during landmarks. So
Okay.
You wanna wait?
we'll wait for that.
Good try. Good
Whoa,
try.
yes, I was trying my best. Okay, I really don't have a whole lot. We, last couple of weeks had several inches of snow daily for a couple of days, it seemed like, and then a bunch of rain this weekend. Our snow plowing crew did an excellent job again. I want to give a shout out. They kept the streets opened up, kept them salted. So anyway,
The traffic lights still blink.
No, they fixed it. Yeah, so,
For a while.
other than that, and we're kind of in the lull of the season right now. We'll get ready to start. I had them, the street crew, I had them, Rick, go ahead and start sweeping the sidewalks last week, to get them cleaned up so we can get all the stuff on the street and then get the street cleaner out and get clean. So, I was hoping to try to get that done today, but it didn't happen. So anyway, that's basically all I have. So we'll move forward. Let's go to the Bath Development Authority.
And we do have Abby Woods online.
Okay, all right. We have in your packets, council, a letter. Abby Wood would like to be come on to the Bath Development. She's online right now, so if there's any questions that you would like to ask of her, I would entertain, go ahead and ask and go from there. And once that's done, I would entertain a motion to bring her on board if you all are interested.
So moved.
So moved?
She's a good one. You don't want her to get away.
Okay. All right, I've got a motion on the floor to bring Abby Woods onto the Bath Development. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. I have a motion and a second on the floor to bring Abby Wood onto the Bath Development Authority. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You have anything you want to ask council before we move on?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming on this evening. All right, and move on then. Parks and Recs. Oh, no, we
We
have
have another
one.
BDA.
Sorry, we had another one, I missed it. We have Nicole
Nikki Cole.
Coles, and she also wants to come on council. Is there in our package?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, so.
Yep, okay, I got it. All right, again, we have, Nikki Coles. She says she is forever resident of Morgan County along with her husband, 4 children. She has been asked and is interested in joining the Bath development. She's currently a student advocate for workforce training at Blue Ridge Community and Technical College. Her office is located in Morgan County. And she is very interested in downtown support of small businesses and towns. So anyway,
I move that we appoint Nikki Cole to the Bath Development.
A second.
okay, got a motion and a second on the floor to appoint Nikki Cole to the Bath Development. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
BDA got 2 good ones.
all right, we got that done. Okay. Moving forward, let's go to Parks and Recs. Do we have anything? She
No,
said that
she
she wasn't
didn't have
gonna be
anything new for us. Anything she has is on her Facebook page. You're able to find the
Right.
sign-ups for the little leagues, etc.
here. Okay. All right, Planning Commission. Anybody here on council have anything for the Planning Commission? Okay. Rails and Trails.
Yeah, Pete's is online. There it goes.
I'm here. We do have, first up on Rail Trail, Scott, I think we have a letter for you to sign off to EPA requesting a no-cost extension of that grant to now the end of September this year, 2021.
Right.
We had a phone conference with Gianna and Lydia and Rebecca and I a couple of weeks ago, and we agreed that was the best way to do it in order to get all the time necessary for CSX to buy off on the new land use covenants and fix the deed for parcel 3. So I think that thing it'll be received fine. This time, I'd like to attach the 2 documents that EPA wants updated every time we have an extension. I did the last updates, so I figured I'll just do these and we'll attach them to the letter and do it all at once.
Okay.
I think the whole thing's not controversial at all. It's no cost.
All
So
right.
would request that you go ahead and sign it. And I think Sharon will email the whole package to Gianna.
Okay, we'll sign it.
Yeah.
You all have any questions about this, what I'm signing?
I don't believe the same thing.
Right,
Vote,
right.
I mean, to be consented.
Okay. We didn't have a rail trail task force meeting last month. We'll probably have one in March, but basically it's going to be the call of Joel, since this is more county work than town work anymore. We have kind of a tentative agreement for the county, Joel, to fund the necessary documentation when the state finishes parcel 1 by the depot. And that'll allow us to keep the LRS Lydia on board. We're close to a deal there. It'll be funded through the hotel motel tax. But I think you guys like to have funding available before you sign off on a work statement. So we're working that out, so you'll do it in the right order. The work is well into the future. DOH's got to do their magic first. And that's, I think that's it for Rail Trail. Anybody got a question? Nope. All right, moving right along to Streetscape. We did have a Zoom meeting in February. We'll probably do it again in March. That would be the 18th. What's happening there is we're in a lull. That doesn't look like it out on Washington Street, but that part's already paid for and we just got to get it done. But the lull, and I'll go back to the lull, is that we don't have a lot of money. We don't have any construction money. We're just about to start to finish the phase 4 design, which does have money. And we're thinking about how best to do that. the phase 5, the upper Wilk Street design money that we got, that's going to have to be matched. Everywhere I've talked to in DOH, the good old days of using toll credits to match things is gone, and that would have to be matched. But since nobody knows what we're actually doing, there's no rush to figure that out. The one thing that we came up with, and I think Susan will remember, she was at the last Zoom meeting, was we're at a point where, and especially if you think about the North End and what came out of the Focus Grant, we're at the point is whatever the town wants to do does not lie within the bounds of one of the specific committees. It's not in streetscape. It's not all in BDA. We're now going to have to, and we're kind of out of people. So the idea is those groups are going to have to work together, each with a prism that says, I'll work on this part or that part. And we're going to end up with, I hate to use this word, a committee of committees, but it'll help to get more brains in the work, especially with the outcome from the Focus Grant, where we heard from the citizens in the North End about what what's their itch that they would like scratched. And it's really not all in one committee's, zone to do that. And we haven't figured this out yet. But the point is, I think that's what's coming, to leverage the brain power that we have in each of the committees, as opposed to trying to set it all into one. So that's yet to come. As to what's going on out on Washington Street with Streetscape Phase 4A, number one, we've yet to hear back from DOH about the funding, if anything, for fixing those 4 planters to get horizontal sides on those things. I've talked to Mark Schooler twice at State, so he understands what's going on. I've identified to people where I think the money is if they decide it needs more money. Have not heard back. I had an exchange with John Burns, the project guy at District 5, to see if he's heard back, and no, he hasn't. And we don't have any word yet as to when the contract is going to return to the work site. So I'll keep my finger on that one to figure out when that's going to happen. The other thing is, at some point, we're getting close to real spring here. So the idea to repave Congress Street will likely reemerge. And one of the things that we noted on Sunday, we knew this, but it's nice to see it happen. During the rain and the runoff, the top rain garden up there at Wilkes was really taken in the water, looking good. The other 3 rain gardens had nothing going on because their inlets haven't been crafted yet. And that's going to be something sort of special during the paving. We have to build some type of a little thing to direct the water into the inlets. The inlets are all there in the curbs. It's just a question of a little artful asphalt, which somebody will be able to figure out how to do, I'm sure. It has to last more than a week, though. So that's it. That's all I have to add this evening.
Pete, when everything you are done, just let me know and we'll get Rodney to contact the company so we can get that.
Okay, yeah, I think it's we're close. The lighting guys have not come back to pull their cable and put the posts in. So, but I think they're out of the way there. But we'll have a long chat before that, because I know how expensive it is and you need to do it right.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay.
Any other questions for Pete?
No.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
See you later. All right, train depot. I see that there was some stuff going on.
A good bit of paperwork
Right.
is passed over my desk at this point. I haven't been able to go through it all. I bet you haven't either.
Right,
I mean,
I've read tidbits here and there.
Dropbox.
It looks like we got to do a couple things to tweak it, and then once that's tweaked, changing dates, and then send it back up. And hopefully something will finally start down there, because they have drugged their feet for 2.5, 3 years on this thing. And every year we have to change everything around because DOH hasn't,
A document's become out of date.
right.
Not because of us, but
They dragged their feet again for another year. We were in the same situation last November. This year's November was the same thing because DOH can't get them to do what they need to do. So anyway, hopefully here in the next couple of months, that'll really start falling into place. Okay, Landmarks Commission. You are up.
and it's totally aside. If you all ever decide you want to pave the other part of Congress,
They say you got the money.
oh man, it's been a rough year for my poor little corner. Half the road is sitting out there, but it is what it is. We don't have a lot of excitement that goes up that way. Alrighty, landmarks. I was trying to think about what to say. And I'm usually not lost. And with your permission, I'd like to read you all something very short. All right, this is volume 3, The Warm Springs Echoes, Fred Newbaugh's book.
Just stick that in my folder.
No, I'm holding on to this one.
I got 3 steps.
Really? Well, there you go. Well, there's a page, 191, and of course, I'm always interested in it because it's got my house on it. So there's another house on it. Next, we arrive at the William Smith House, which was later the property of William Fleece, who ran a hotel in it before the Civil War. Fleece leased this to Peter Michael, who called it the Palo Alto Hotel as early as 1859. About 1870, it was the residence of Clarence Whistler, the world wrestling champion. And at the time of the book's publishing, it was now the residence of John Newbraw. In the garden and in the garage in the basement is the Palo Alto Antique and Toy Store. They've got some really cool pictures here. The Fleece Hotel is more retired than any other hotel in the town of Bath, and hence a very desirable retreat. So it's a fun little thing. Now this that I want to read to you is from the United States Department of the Interior, National Register of Historic Places, the Town of Bath Historic District, page 31. Description: 2-story multifamily residential building, significantly altered, obscuring evidence as to its date of construction with loss of integrity, a non-contributing building. They're the same building, and it's the one I look at when I look out my window. And I think the crux of what those of us who have volunteered for Landmark, that's kind of the thing. For us, we like old structures. I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing, and I still like them. I'm not an architect or anything. I like them. One of the things that I love about this community, this town of Bath, are that these old structures that we have seen life. They've had people living in them. They've seen their rough times, their good times, their homes. Many of them are still homes. And we thought, okay, since our bailiwick are old buildings, old structures, historic things, how do we keep what's historic? We know, and I say we, I'm speaking for hopefully all of them, you guys have an unenviable position. You're juggling those of us who are running around saying save everything and all of that good stuff. And then you've got people who are business people. You've got to, who want to tear it down. You might have a next door neighbor who's going, I got to deal with that. That building just sits there. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of different constituents, and we know that. So we all, one of the things that, thankfully not me, but members of my committee have worked on for years was ordinances that might help in terms of new building, renovating buildings, and demolishing buildings. Because the reality is there are buildings that need to come down. we all could probably sit here right now and think of 6 that for whatever reason are still standing there, and there's got to be something that can be done. All right. The intent for the things that we put out there, because you guys don't, poor Rose comes to our meetings and everything, but we don't want control of this process. I have never volunteered with a group of people with less of an agenda in my life. Half of them, might own property, they might live here, we might have businesses here. The other half don't. And they just do this because they're like me, they like these old buildings. We want to give every chance for you guys to fill that void, to have that authority, because that's where it should come from. Not a committee that's got some sort of axe to grind, because we really aren't. We know sometimes you got to put vinyl windows into the house, it's the reality. But if we can save even one Palo Alto hotel, how cool is that? And right now, there's very little, if anything, that protects these old buildings. And I think all of us on the committee realize that the town of Bath, there's that expressions on the knife blade, and it can go either way. COVID's been awful. This community, this county relies on hospitality. That's our industry in Morgan County. And having worked at the places I have, I can tell you right now, there's a ton of people who come through this county and into this town. And this past weekend, my daughter and I were working on the house, and this lady walked by with her dog and said, "What do you know about the castle?" And, granted, the castle was not in the town, but I gave her the spiel. And then, of course, I had to corner her and say, "Let me tell you about George Washington and James Rumsey." And, but it was all said and done. She was staying in an Airbnb at the end of the street, and she was listening, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys have a lot of stuff here." I said, "Yeah, it's not Harper's Ferry, it's not Antietam, it's not who we are. But we as the Historic Landmark Commission would love to see us try to save as many things as we can, but we also know there is compromise involved in that." And I can tell you right now, those of us who are in there, we do understand that. We get it, it's just the way it is. If I could have a bunch of rich people buy a bunch of houses and fix them up, that'd be grand. But
they're
that's
not standing in line to do that right
no,
now,
they
are
don't
they?
appear to be,
Yeah.
So that is the intent behind what we, had given to you all about these ordinances. Just demolition and then renovation, they're different types of issues, but they are connected.
Right.
It's how do you retain who you are?
Right.
And I'm constantly hearing people say to me 2 things. One, there's nothing historic about the town of Bath. What on earth are you carrying on about? I didn't know that there was as much history. You guys have really cool history. There's neat stuff that went on here and still is going on. Secondly, the thing I hear a lot more of is you outsiders come from other places and you want to change this place. You want to make it look like what you left. We do not. I can truly tell you, I don't want it to look like where I came from. I want to help keep it the way it is and maybe even make it better if there's a role for that. So I just felt it was important which reminds me, thank you, the 2 of you, for coming to that meeting that we had. Oh my gosh, so appreciated it. Because that's what we were looking for. We're looking for dialogue.
Yeah.
We know that the building folks, the building ordinance is looking at entirely, not just us. So we get it. There's going to be this kind of thing.
Right. There's got to be given.
We
and
want
take,
to enter into dialogue. That's
Right.
what we're,
And basically what I've set into motion is, number one, I have instructed the ordinance committee, number one, by May 1st, I want on this desk at the first meeting, I want the building ordinances. I want it in form that can be read. And at the end of the month, I want them passed so that we have the state building ordinances done. Number one. Number two, we were going to announce, but I'll announce, we are going to have a special meeting of council, of the Landmarks Commission. We want you all there. And who else did we say we wanted to hear, Rick?
Did you get it? I sent an email to both David and Tim, so you'll probably get that
Oh,
if you
okay.
haven't.
No, I
It's
have
next
not.
Tuesday at 5 o'clock
Yeah.
here.
Okay,
We're
cool.
going to
The
have
Historic
our
Landmark Commission, the Town Council, and Dick Gately,
Right.
will all hear it from the
Let's
horse's
get at
mouth.
it. Right on.
we're going to have our town attorney here to explain,
Mhm.
the whole situation so that everybody has it. I've instructed everybody sitting here. I haven't talked
Bring
to
your
Chris yet,
questions.
but
Mhm.
bring your questions because when we walk out that door that night,
Mhm.
it's over and done with. I want to get on the same page. So this is the time that everybody can have their questions, have them answered by either the attorney or whatever. But when we walk out that door,
Right.
it's done and settled with. I'm not
Right.
gonna have another, committee meeting that blows up and everything else because we're not on the same page. But I do want the building ordinances passed by the last week in March.
And we're
Or
gonna
May.
be talking to us about that
Right, and he's
also.
gonna be talking to us about that. We've had our second meeting of our bad, building ordinance committee. Which I'm gonna have to set up a third, but there's been a bunch of stuff in my life going on here the last couple of
It
weeks.
happens.
I just have to take care of that. I'm going to have another one.
Dilapidated.
Yeah, the dilapidated ordinance. And we met, and that's when the ordinance committee was there on Zoom. And that's when I instructed them. We've got some stuff coming down from an engineer on some of the building codes, some of the things other communities our size have done, so that we can look at for the ordinances, for the building ordinances, the state building code. And so that meeting's gonna be next Tuesday, 5.
5 to whenever.
Yeah,
And that's exactly like with the ordinances, we're not recreating the wheel. I mean, the things that we brought forward,
right.
they went elsewhere and looked, okay, what's working, and that kind of thing. 'Cause it's,
Right,
we're not the only small town that wants to figure out property owners versus town council versus investment versus preservation. I mean,
right.
you got a lot of constituents there pulling on you, and
Yeah, well, and the
sorry.
thing about it is there's a lot of stuff in that building code that, I've been in the construction trade for
Yeah.
almost 40 years
Yeah.
doing stuff. And I don't understand it, but like I said, I have instructed, that I want to get this done. We have to have the state building code so that we can move forward in anything that we do, whether it be the Landmark Commission, whether it be, Danielle that gives out the
Oh, yeah.
permits, and it's got to be done. So,
Yeah,
and
we're
I
not-
will-
Yeah, we don't want to.
Right, and I will leave
We're fine
town
with you
council
all
know,
doing the things.
if we don't have anything by that meeting, the second meeting, I will be bringing the state building codes forward.
Well, I do hope,
So,
Please
because I
do
want to
reach-
get it done.
reach out to David and Tim and Zach. I mean, I can be there. I'm not gonna say I'm useless, but they're the ones that,
Right.
Tim and David know, and I so assume that they'll contact you.
they
Right.
have
I
that
told Rick
knowledge.
to
which
reach
is
out to
really
them
good.
when we found out that we were gonna be able to get the council,
Right.
most of the council members on board. We wanted them
Oh,
to be
yeah.
here because they need to hear, point blank what exactly the whole situation is. I think it'll be a very informative meeting on everybody's part.
Yeah.
Not just the council members, not the Landmark Commission, not, the private citizen that may come or whatever. So, and I
After
think,
the meeting last week, I've given this a lot of thought, and what I think would behoove all of us after the meeting next Tuesday, when we all hear the same thing from the horse's mouth, is that instead of having separate group meetings, the Landscape Commission and the Ordinance Committee and the Police Department, who are the enforcers in that, need to meet once a month and start from scratch, identify the historic district, and take it from there.
And
That would be where I see this going, and it just makes sense, because having one group meet over here, No, you're never gonna get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
But the
you got,
two things that really jumped off the page at me from the meeting the other night. First thing was the comment about the Star Theater. It just changed hands. We have nothing in our books at all that could have precluded somebody from buying that and tearing it down. We have nothing. That was one. The other, and I did some homework, and I have a picture of, since we have nothing in place, what we have is Mountain Laurel. That facade that they have in the front of their building. And when we go to the meeting on next week, I'll show the picture of what it used to look like. That has nothing to do with the architectural integrity of that whole block. It's just like that corner is like its own entity. And that's the kind of thing I know that you guys are trying to look at.
and a lot of it is that, you know, for lack of a better word, 522, you know, that stretch on 522, that's what people see, you know, and as you get farther off of it, you don't see it as much, but, you know, and the interiors of people's homes, that's not really our thing either. I mean, we're just strictly, it sounds kind of superficial to me, but it is what it is. We look at the outsides, the outsides, and like I said, sometimes things don't work out like that, and it is what it is. Would you rather have a drug house, you know, on the corner of Congress and Green, or would you rather have a preacher painting his house navy blue? I mean, sometimes
Right.
you make those decisions, and it is what it is, and we know that.
And I think-
So
I
we
think
really appreciate.
I'm glad you're here this evening, and I think we're all gonna learn a great deal. Well, the mayor and I
I've
have been
already
into this for
learned.
a long time. We've been into it for a long
More than I
time.
really wanted to
And
know.
so I think it'll
So-
be very educational, and like I said, everybody's gonna hear the same thing. You may, you know, what you say about one building,
Right.
there's another person that just says that I wanna tear it down and make a nice new house that my family can live. That's
Or
just-
yeah,
yeah.
and that might be
And so
good. That
then
might be
I'm
the best
glad-
way to
I'm
go.
glad you recognize that there are competing
Oh gosh, yeah. The
interests
house
and
across from me.
everything. And everything
Yeah.
is competing.
Oh, the house across from me breaks my heart because I look at it through one lens and I think, you know, it's in this book, and I look at it and, oh my gosh. But then on the other side, the homeowner says, every penny I have is tied up into this house. This is bringing down my property value.
And
What's happening?
Right. I'm a member of the Calabath DAR. I care,
Yeah.
you know, there are competing interests, so that's just what we have to do.
But no, we do appreciate you guys, and the frustration you're hearing is mostly from, I mean, it's
Genuine.
frustration.
Yeah.
They
You know, like
care,
I said,
they
if
really
we
do.
get everybody together in one room and we
Yeah.
get on the same page,
Yeah.
because I think Rick nailed it just a
Yeah.
couple seconds ago. You've got you all meeting here, then you've got the town council meeting here, trying to make
Yeah.
decisions, then you got the ordinance committee meeting here, and then I'm doing the dilapidated buildings, so you got three different
And we have
organizations.
public
four di-
safety, which is
Yeah.
another one in
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
And then there's the
So,
finance
then you got
people who say, I
Danielle
don't care
that
what y'all say, this
issues
is
the
how it's gonna happen.
permits. Right,
Yeah.
so.
It tends to polarize people.
So
Right.
at least
Yes.
after 3 years, there's movement. And
And that's good. That's
So
good.
we'll work with it after, the meeting on the ninth. We'll move forward from this. I'm gonna try to reach out to the members that resigned. I just haven't had time to talk to them, but I'm hoping Rick can talk them into coming to the meeting and, we can
Yes,
get it,
please. Yeah, please.
all. So Rick, if you will talk to him, because like I said, I'm.
I already
out of
talked
town
to Tim and
tomorrow.
David and sent them the notification, so I
Good,
would
good.
assume
Thank
they
you.
would be here knowing the two of them, but
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Thank you, thank you.
needs to reach out to Tim.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think you are, aren't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Rick, can you reach out to Jenna Hansel for me?
Yeah.
Lori's.
And I'll pick on her too. So.
You reach out to her too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to the next day.
I'll reach out to all of them.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
guys.
All right. All right, we're gonna move forward. Clerk and recorders report, Madam Clerk. You
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, Madam Clerk. Okay.
Sharon,
I'm
do you
brain
think you have an
dead.
email for Jenna?
It's on.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's on your,
Jenna? Oh, okay, I got it right here. Okay,
Yeah.
Got it.
All right, let's pay some bills.
Let's talk about budget meeting. Ooh, it's March.
Yes.
Isn't it?
John and I were trying to get a schedule together for the budget meeting. We do have the, rate from the Morgan County Commission. And we also have the applications were all received for the hotel motel tax, so they have to be gone through by council.
And I may be able to make that tomorrow now. Yeah, get a call on the verdict here.
No, I won't.
Well, I don't think John is now, so.
Oh, are you gonna have it? I haven't looked at you.
Yeah, I'm not doing
8 o'clock this morning. All right. We'll figure it out.
it. All right, finances.
Okay. Town of Bath bills for this period are $6,928.77. And I make a motion that we go ahead and pay the Town of Bath bills for this period.
I second.
Okay, a motion and a second to pay the town of Bath bills in the amount of $6,928.77. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
And that's Berkeley Springs Waterworks in the amount of $1,169.78. And we will go ahead and pay those bills on behalf of Berkeley Springs Waterworks.
I second.
Okay, a motion and a second on the floor to pay the Berkeley Springs waterwork bills in the amount of $1,169.78. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. All right, looks like tree board, we don't have anybody here tonight. I don't know if they've made any progress on, the cutting of the trees that we need to up at the cemetery. So anyway,
Yes,
okay.
Kate had, written a letter for me, for one of the tenants that, own property next to the cemetery to see if they could give me permission to tree work to use that as an entrance way of cut some of the trees. We haven't heard back from that property owner as of today, but that's where it stands. I believe that they have contracted tree work on removing those couple of trees that we had talked about.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Grant. Let's move to public safety.
It's just me. What is going on? February's report. We had 1 misdemeanor criminal report, 17 no reports needed. A felony arrest, a misdemeanor arrest, 1 accident, 24 citations, 10 warnings, 3 transports, 1 alarm, and 152 parking tickets.
Getting in here for summertime.
Oh, yeah. March is already looking good too. As most of you noticed when you walk through the parking lot, the new cruiser is out here. We're just waiting on some things so we can take it to detail. Like the pretty last week.
Pretty snazzy looking.
And as of March 9th, after this meeting, I will be out for a couple weeks, so still working from home, but.
All right.
The sidewalks will be waiting when we get back.
That's all you want, I'm out, man.
Thank you, Danielle. All right, cemetery.
I am still waiting for Dick Gay to get back to the answer with answers to my questions. He promised me last week, I think it was, that he would try to get it done by this week. So as soon as I get that information, I'll be meeting with the cemetery committee. But otherwise, I just don't have anything to report. I'm just kind of on a standstill until I hear back from him.
This is, you're waiting for answers to questions concerning your bylaws, correct?
Memorial.
The
Perpetual fund.
the perpetual fund, okay.
See if there's a way to
Right,
change that
get
phase
into
over.
that.
Okay. Anything else, Beth?
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Public Works.
Well, we are still at 2 on our work crew, and we're gonna be sending out something next week and advertising till the 3rd. We're not gonna go back through the prior applications that we had. And once again, Rodney, Danielle and company, with the snowstorms, the ice, overly amounts of rain, they've been out there making sure the drains were cleared. Our roads are always way better than what the state and the county do, so
Yes,
kudos to them.
yes.
And that's it.
So basically, I can say seasonal work is progressing.
Yeah,
Sure, that'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, very good.
okay. All right, ordinance,
Okay, I do, want to report, and I do think that I sent this to you guys. Dick Gay has given me the building code, and what he did, and this has been a back and forth thing as to if we could take things out or not. I sent it with the section that he
Right,
says
the one
he would
section.
not recommend, other than that, but then there is the state law that we have to follow with, public meetings
Right.
and a pamphlet and like that we must follow. I may have sent that out to you too. But, so it is in works. He suggested, and I haven't gotten to call the fire marshal's office in Charleston yet, that each of those codes, maybe the fire marshal has a pamphlet done. Maybe there is something that's planned that we could have to hand out to people,
Right.
explaining in some kind of pamphlet, or he may have that.
right,
So I'm gonna contact them, see what they've
Right.
got, so we can have something so people will understand. But basically, I believe what I sent out, except for that one section, is what it'll be.
is the whole building
Is-
except
is
that
what
one
he
little
is
section that you
suggesting
suggested.
That we do, so.
So
I
but how
can
do we
put that
see
into-
what that section is? Part of my thing with all this is,
Yeah.
these codes are in books that you've gotta go buy these codes. You just can't go and look at these rules by going on the computer and downloading them. You gotta buy the books or buy the software to access the rules. So what is
Yeah.
this, how do I look at the section that he says we don't need to know whether it's really something we need or not?
Well, maybe we can ask him Tuesday, because
Okay.
I'm in the
Okay.
same boat,
Yeah.
That's my
there's a lot
frustration
of
with
that
those
that He
rules.
doesn't
I mean,
understand
it's-
it, and he's in construction, so,
Yeah, I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot.
that's
I mean, there's
gonna-
hundreds of dollars that you were talking, I mean, just for us to be able to get these rules to look at. I mean,
I know.
have we looked at the cost of that?
of like printing pamphlets and
Well,
like.
no,
No.
of getting the international, all these
Building
international.
code. Yeah, we would have to have all
the
those
international rules of electricity and the international.
know.
I mean, have you looked
Well,
at
I
the
don't-
cost of what it would
I
cost
don't
to
know
have
if-
those and how do we make them available to people so that?
Right, I don't know if we need that because basically your inspectors would be the one to, come in, like a building inspector
I
or.
understand, but how do people in the public know what they is expected of them? They've got to go to a cost of downloading and buying these books or. these
Most of the time,
rules.
what happens.
I mean, unless I'm missing.
Right, most of the time what happens is, say I'm building a house and I need an electrical inspector, I need a mechanical inspector, and I need a construction, a building, basically what they do is they rely on their contractor, whoever that is, to be knowledgeable and reach out to.
They're just expected to know those rules.
Right, they're
Because
supposed
they're
to,
the
that's
They're-
why
they're
they
And
take,
you've got to have, because they're bonded
Right.
and they know.
absolutely, and that's how it all works, because, now, basically, in the state of West Virginia, I believe it's still true, I'm not 100% sure, but you can actually, I own a house, I'm a homeowner, I can install a panel box, but I have to call the power company and say, okay, how many feet does that have to be off the ground?
So
You're
doing
how
it
many,
for in compliance.
Before the power company will turn the power
Right.
on, it has to be inspected.
it has to be
and they have
inspected to make sure that it's.
But they will
good.
give you, they'll
So-
tell you what you need.
Right, yeah, and that's what I did in my old house up here, I mean, I rewired the whole thing per code. And, like I said, I basically called an electrician, he had all the specs, and that's how I got it.
Yeah.
But if you're building a new house, you're gonna need to have electrical inspection, mechanical inspection, building inspection where they're putting it up.
Right.
So basically you rely on them. So,
An interesting aside to that, we're dealing with that with our cottage, because we now want to finish it. And so with the electrical, because Potomac Edison is different than just about anybody else, we had Darren Bordeaux come out and meet with them. The two guys, they actually knew each other, and you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
they got the code, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then the other flip side are the number of things that homeowners can do when they don't, the best question I've ever been asked, Rick, was by you. When we got our building permit and everybody said, oh, it's fine, it's fine. You said, who's doing the work? And I'm like, well, me mostly. As it turns out, which it has been me mostly, the state allows totally incompetent people to do this stuff. You can even abate your own asbestos. If you're the homeowner, we ended up, we paid somebody to do that. But you just put a trash bag down and collect the asbestos. If I'm the house next door, I'm like, yeah. So, that it's been interesting to me to see this, like the electric is much more because it's controlled by Potomac Edison.
right.
But that other kind of stuff,
And there's really no way to control it because the state law says the homeowner, as long as they own the house, they can repair, fix, replace, whatever.
and sometimes the homeowner shouldn't.
Right, but you've got to give them that option. That's the thing. And then we rely on the electrical inspectors. We rely on the power company to come say, okay, it's been inspected. I can go ahead and pull my wires across the street from the transformer and I can hook it up and energize the box. We rely on electricians and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, if you own a house, you can basically, do your own work.
And now with the water company, now you don't have, if there's work done in that house, somebody calls to have water, they get water.
Right.
So there's no kind of, it's not the same kind of deal as the electric, where you don't get electric until we say you can get it.
Right. That's the only difference. Plumbing, all that kind of stuff can basically be done by the homeowner, as long as we give them water from the street to their.
So now this would just put the onus on them. They got to download or acquire these rules so they're all in them.
Basically, yes. It would be, if they're doing their work, they need to know what the code is. So, it's like I got that big binder.
You said what it is.
Right. I got that big binder up there that tells you the electric code. How many inches your boxes have to be up off the floor. How many you have to have.
No, but how much did it cost you to get that, for that book?
About 100.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. It's probably about that thick.
Yeah.
So, but I had to have that because I needed to know. I gotta have X amount of inches off the floor. I gotta have, how I run that wire, what kind of cable I have, and it tells you right in the book. So, and
If
the
it's
thing,
inside the house,
the thing about it is there's not much we can do if it's a homeowner doing the work. We can't go in that house. Now, if something happens, say the house catches on fire or a stairwell falls down or something, then we can send somebody in there to inspect. But until something like that happens, we can't, you can't just walk in somebody's property and say, I'm here to inspect it. That's not the way this law is designed.
And these building codes that I sent to you guys are, and that's the West Virginia law, it's new construction.
Right.
It's not going
It's
into
not old.
Chris
Right.
Chapman's house, knocking on the door,
Right.
and say, we're here. to
We
inspect."
can't walk in somebody's house and say, you remodeled this 10 years ago and you didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. It's new construction. Anything that they would apply for building wise.
Yeah.
So
So,
anyway.
it's a thing, but it's moving, so.
I appreciate the discussion.
I'll try to see if I can dig up some books.
Yeah, no,
But if you can understand them, because I'm telling you what.
Well, that's it. I wouldn't, they'd be.
I've got some friends that got like electrical books.
I just know they cost.
Oh, yeah, they're not cheap. They're not cheap.
Mostly bought by people like him,
Yeah.
who have
Who
to
are
have
right,
it
or
to
professional, they're out
do their
doing it.
professional work, yeah.
Okay,
All right, I guess that's all I have for this ordinance, and I guess that's enough.
okay. We've had good discussion here tonight.
Sure.
All right, then we'll move to waterworks.
All right, the water committee met yesterday evening. Two things to note. One, we've actually made some good progress on the right of ways. We're up to 20. I think last time we were like 9. So yeah, we're getting close to half now. And there's another meeting with Pressure and Region 9 and town folks. The water, Ron, I'm gonna try to be on it on Thursday to just get together and, keep the movement. They've been meeting, trying to every week. I think they missed last week, but it's moving along, so that's positive. And so we're just trying to keep the momentum going. The other thing just to report is that we had a groundwater pollution prevention plan put together for us by Thrasher for the water plant because of the chemicals that we maintain at the plant. So that has been submitted to the DEP, and if anyone wants to see it, I have a copy. And it's also available, I think, to the public. And other than that, I think that's it. Nothing more to report.
Okay. Well, this is the point in this fun time that I bring forward anybody that would want to speak. No.
Well, you actually answered several of my questions because I
Only
was
several.
going to ask you about the building code that I've been coming here whining about for 5 years and where it stood. Now, Dick gave you over 3 years ago a 17-page step-by-step of what you needed to do to adopt the building code, and it still never got done. So I'm happy to hear that by the end of May, there will be a building code in the town of Bath. Now, my other question is, I want to know if somebody wants a permit, that you have to have a certified person that can issue the permit. That's the law. Yes, it is.
We can issue it to the police department and then have an inspector.
No, it absolutely
Yes,
cannot.
it can. I know for a fact it can.
Well, we spoke to the fire marshal today. And he said, no, the police department can tell people that they have to pick up their trash and cut their grass, but unless they're a certified building inspector, they cannot issue.
You tell that fellow to call me,
Okay,
please.
okay,
Don't call me tomorrow, but tell him to call me because I've got to go away tomorrow and I can't be bothered.
okay,
But tell the fire marshal to talk to me. And I
will
will
do.
I will talk, because I talked to the fire marshal's office and they said it could still be done through our department. And that was a year ago.
Mhm.
So if they've changed it, then I need to know,
Okay,
because that's more expensive. We're gonna have to pass on, unfortunately, to the town. So, so this is what's gonna happen. We get these building inspections.
Scott, the state fire marshal?
I talked to the state fire marshal over here,
state fire marshal.
and they told us that we did not have to we could hire somebody to inspect, take care of it on a part-time basis. We did not have to have anybody on board full-time, and that our building permits process that we do is legally allowed to happen the way it's been happening. That's what I was told for a
You
fact.
can have somebody part-time as long as they are a certified code enforcement person. And you don't have that. So Danielle has been going out looking at, stuff that people are doing, and she's not certified, which in my opinion is making the town liable for anything that happens. And, I got a building that's being built behind my shop, and I don't know that it's all you know, according to code, because you don't have any code.
Right, right.
So it's a concern for me, for the safety, it's a concern for me because the town could be very financially liable if
Well,
something happened.
You're putting us in a financial liability anyway, because if we have to hire somebody and pay them, then so be it. Then I'll have somebody sitting in here full time.
You don't have to have. a
Well,
full-time.
you know, when do you know when they're gonna come in and apply for a building permit?
You know, they apply for a permit and then the inspector is the one who actually issues the permit when they look at the work that somebody is asking or saying they're going to do. If I'm gonna replace windows, they come in and they fill out a permit, correct? That they want to replace windows. The inspector takes that permit to the whatever, wherever it's being done, and see that that's being done properly. You don't
They
have
can't
to
do
have
any work
somebody
until they get
sitting
the
there.
permit.
I'm sorry.
They can't do any work until they get the permit.
Right, so it's
So-
the inspector that says, yes, you can issue this permit. And then the inspector has to go back and make sure that the work that they've gotten a permit for is being done.
Well, have the guys for our marshal's office call me.
Okay,
Him and I'll have a little,
okay.
okay?
Yes,
Appreciate it.
sir. Now, can you tell me, Sharon, what you said about the hotel motel tax distribution meeting? When is that gonna be?
Well, we were hoping to have it tomorrow, but there will not be enough people participating there. I didn't have it posted because we didn't get response back, so I will make sure it's out there at the meeting so people can attend.
Okay, because TBS needs to be there for that meeting, so please make, even if you just tell me, so I will know. So, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right,
You do have one more. Nikki Coles is online. She's been there for a little bit.
oh,
Call me, she said.
okay, well, anybody wanna talk with Nikki? She's on.
Hey, Nikki.
Zoom.
Hey, Nikki.
Hey guys. Hey Rose.
We appointed you, Nikki. You can.
You are
finish
an
your
official
answer.
member.
You're in.
Okay. Was having some technical difficulties earlier, so.
Appreciate your willingness to serve.
Yes. And we think you're a
Well, thank you.
great asset to us. A great asset.
Well, thank you. I hope so. Do my best.
I'll probably get to see you tomorrow evening, you know. Tomorrow evening is.
Yes.
Okay, you got that? All right, good.
Yes, I will be there and I should be there in person. I think I got everything covered. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Done.
Done.
Yeah,